Balarama Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jananjana-salakaya Rakshurmilitam Jena Tashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swabharantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagra Chatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapachubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayem Udirayet Nasta Preshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavad Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So today is Friday, August 8th, 2025. And on the Vedic calendar, it is the Bhadra Purnim. Is it the Bhadra Purnim? Or is that next month? Yeah. It's almost the Bhadra Purnim. It's the Purnim before the Bhadra Purnim, which is the full moon and celebrated as the appearance day of Lord Sri Balarama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears along with Lord Krishna to assist him and engage with him in their pastimes of love. And some of that love is tough love. Lord Balaram, we're going to read about some of his tough love pastimes with various demons, which generally devotees find quite relishable. Better than the movies, although there's also a movie about a killer avatar, Lord Nrsingadev, that's on the horizon today. So there are different sources of information in Shastra that we have about Lord Balaram, the principal source of which is the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, as well as the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which gives a philosophical description of the position in the ontology of Lord Balaram in very deep philosophical terms in the Adi Lila. And then there is the Garga Samhita, translated by Kushakrat Prabhu, with a commentary by Danavir Maharaj, And it just so happens that Dhanavir Maharaj gave a full set of this Garga Samhita to Parameshwar Prabhu, who gave it to the temple, and now resides at Sri Krishna Home Dham. But I was provided with one copy, First Canto, Volume 2, Krishna Comes to Earth, and it describes the appearance of Lord Balaram. Also, it describes a summary of the pastimes of Lord Balaram, which is very interesting. We'll get to that in a moment. Summarizing what we read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lord Balaram, he is the first expansion of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna expands himself. He's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan, but he expands himself both personally and by his various energies and in different incarnations. And his first expansion is Lord Balaram. And Prabhupada informs us that there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram, except for they have different bodily color. Lord Krishna is blackish, and Lord Balaram is described variously as whitish or having a crystal color in one place. Very nice. He's crystal colored. He's the original crystal stone energy chakra source, which is very nice. So they are both one and the same identity, yet they exhibit differently for the purposes of their pastimes. And one very interesting feature of Lord Balaram, although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, non-different from Krishna, he considers himself the servant of Krishna. And so he's always trying to serve Krishna in various ways. So he is the original Krishna consciousness personality. He's the origin of the Krishna conscious movement because he's the original Krishna conscious manifestation. And he's imbued with this sense of servitorship to Krishna. Now, what to speak of us, the ordinary living entities, who are also energetic expansions from Krishna. Bless you. We are also related to Krishna in service. That is actually our dharma, our Sanatana dharma, our eternal religion, or our eternal meaning of our existence is to render service to Krishna. But Lord Balaram is so cool, although he is the primary expansion and non-different from Krishna, he manifests this Krishna consciousness. So it's nothing new, Krishna consciousness. And then from Lord Balaram, there are other expansions. Krishna expands himself first as Lord Balaram, and then from Lord Balaram comes the expansion of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, known as the Chatur Vyuha, the fourfold, four-armed expansions of the Lord, who carry out various pastimes and tasks on behalf of the Lord. And therefore, when we see the Lord comes, like when he came as Lord Ramachandra, he came as Rama, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna, the four brothers. That is Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And another name of Lord Balaram is Sankarshan. And he has many names that he goes by. One is Haladar, the holder of the plow. Krishna and Balaram appear together and manifest their pastimes in Vrindavan, the cowherd village. And so they're engaged in herding cows and agricultural activities in the beautiful pastoral setting of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Lord Balaram takes as one of his weapons, the plow, which is used by the Vaishyas to till the earth. So he holds a plow, Aladar, holder of the plow. And also another one of his weapons that he famously likes to use is the club. So that is Lord Balaram, the holder of the plow, wielder of the club. And he's very expert in using both as weapons. He's so expert in the art of club fighting that he became the martial art guru for club fighting for both Duryodhana and Bhima, who later fought to the end with clubs. And both were great students, but he favored Duryodhana because Duryodhana was more skillful actually in club fighting, but Bhima was more powerful. And Bhima is saying he is very powerful. He is called the performer of Herculean tasks and is also known as Vrikadar, which means wolf belly. So, you know, dogs are like always hungry, and the wolf is like a super dog. So he's known as Vrikadar. And on the Battle of Kurukshetra, they fought it out to the end. And Bhima had to cheat a little bit in order to defeat Duryodhana. You know the story? So Duryodhana's mother, Gandhari, because she's married to Dhritarashtra, who was blind, she voluntarily blinded herself with a cloth because she didn't want to be superior to her husband. But because of her austerity and her doing like this, she became very powerful. And so she wanted to make her son invincible. So she told Duryodhana, come before me naked. And then she was going to take off her blindfold. And by the power, the potency she had stored up, make his body invincible. But there was a trick involved. Duryodhana was advised, I forget by whom, that I think it was Krishna. Well, you can't go in front of your mother naked. Come on, man. That's not cool. So just wear a gamsha around your waist. And so when he came before her, then she took off the blindfold and zapped him with her potency and made his body strong like iron. And then she saw him, he was wearing his gamsha. She said, what have you done? Because it was too late then. There's like no do-overs in these mystic potency things. Hey, quick, take that thing off. So he was invincible except for the part that was covered by the gamsha. That was the only vulnerable part of his body. And in military affairs, striking below the belt is not allowed. Just like in boxing. There are rules in combat, and especially in single combat. So Bhima struck Duryodhana on the thighs. And he had vowed to do that because when the Pandavas had lost their wife, Draupadi, in a gambling match to the Kauravas, Duryodhana, now that she was his property, he showed his thigh to her. And Bhima vowed that I'm going to get those thighs. I'm going to kill him by breaking his thighs. Which he did, which is not allowed according to the Kshatriya rules of combat. But so, there's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip, as they say. So he did that. But Lord Balaram, he was partial to Dhirodatta as his student, but then the Pandavas, Bhima included, Yudhishthira, Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadev, they were great devotees of Lord Krishna. And so when he understood that the battle of Kurukshetra was to take place, Lord Balaram, he tried to intervene in such a way that there would be no battle. But he was unsuccessful. And so instead of taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra himself, he opted out to go on pilgrimage, to go on a tour of the holy places. And also he didn't want to upset Krishna, who was driving the chariot of Arjuna, although not directly, theoretically engaged in battle himself as a warrior, but he was driving Arjuna's chariot. And so Lord Balaram was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go. And but he had mixed feelings because of his fondness and affection for his most masterful club fighting student, Duryodhana, who was the sworn enemy of the Pandavas and non-devotee number one. Still, he was Balaram's student. So that pastime is there. And that pastime leads to some other pastimes that we're going to get to. So let us turn to the Garga Samhita and read a little bit of the summary of the appearance and pastimes of Lord Balaram. Narada Muni told Kamsa while he had Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison that, don't just wait for the eighth child to kill you, that depending on how they're counted, any of Vasudev's sons can be the eighth one. Any of them can be the one that will kill you. That is the crookedness of the demigods. Kamsa became filled with anger at the plan of the demigods to kill the demons. And in his heart, he decided to kill all of the Yadavas. So, this Leela was going on of Vasudeva and Devaki in jail. And Kamsa began his campaign to harass all the Yadavas. All the Yadavas fled to other countries on the pretext of visiting relatives and waited for a better time. And then in Braja, when Mercury, 5 exalted planets in the constellation Libra were on the horizon, at midday, as the demigods showered a beautiful rain of flowers and the clouds sprinkled drops of water, the Supreme Personality of Godhead illuminated Nanda Maharaja's home with a splendor, being born from Vasudev's wife, Rohini. So when Devaki had her 7th pregnancy, there was a child in her womb, and Krishna ordered Yogamaya to transfer Balaram from Devaki's womb to the womb of Rohini, who was another wife of Vasudeva, who was living in hiding in the home of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj were actually stepbrothers. It's revealed. So the palace of Kamsa, like, what happened to that pregnancy? It disappeared. And then in the house of Nanda Maharaj, how did Rohini get so pregnant all of a sudden? And that is one of the names of Lord Balaram is Sankarshan, which means he was attracted to the womb of Rohini. Nanda performed the child's birth ceremony and gave in charity 1 million cows to the Brahmanas. Then he called the Gopas and observed a very auspicious festival with the music of many singers and instrumentalists. Let's see. And Nanda Maharaj said, "Who is this handsome boy whose equal cannot be seen anywhere? How is it he was born after only 5 days in the womb? O great sage, please tell me." And he was talking to Vyasadeva, who came there. Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of God. And Sri Vyas said, "Nanda, you are very fortunate. This child is eternal Ananta Shesh. In Mathura city, he was conceived by Vasudeva in Devaki. By Lord Krishna's wish, he was brought to beautiful Rohini. O King Nanda, you may see him even though the great yogis cannot. I, Veda Vyasa, have come here to see him. Therefore, please show him the supreme person who is greater than the greatest and who now displays the form of an infant to us." Then Nanda showed them the child Ananta Shesh. Gazing at the child in the cradle, Vyas, struck with wonder, bowed down and spoke. Vyasadeva said, Sri Vyasa Uvacha, "O Master of the demigods, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Lord who grants desires, obeisances to you who are Lord Ananta Shesh, obeisances to you who are directly Lord Rama. Eternal obeisances to you, Lord Sankarshan, the maintainer of the earth, perfect and complete, effulgent and glorious, holding a plow in your hand and having 1,000 heads. You are Baladev, Revati's husband, and the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead's elder brother. You are armed with a plow. You are Pralambasura's killer. O Supreme Person, please save me." See, Vyasadeva, he knew the future. He's revealing Lord Balaram. Here is a child in the cradle. He's calling him the killer Pralambasura, the husband of Revati, Krishna's older brother, Krishna who hasn't appeared yet, the killer Pralambasura. He knew a lot of stuff. He could see past, present, and future. So he goes on. Obeisances to you who are known as Bala and Balabhadra, and who carry a palm tree flag. Obeisances to you, Rohini's fair-complexioned son, dressed in blue garments. And in the purport it mentions that as Krishna's flag bears Garuda and Arjuna's flag bears Hanuman, so Balaram bears the auspicious palm tree, known as Tal. And later we'll hear about his pastimes in Talavan forest. You are the enemy of Denuka, Mushtika, Kuta, Rukmi, Kupakarna, and Kumbhanda. You put an end to Balvala. You divided the Jamuna and dragged Hastinapura. You are the enemy of Dvavida. You are the king of the Yadavas and the decoration of the circle of Braj. You are the killer of Kamsa's brothers, a pilgrim who goes to holy places, the supreme master, and the teacher of Dhirodatta. O Lord, please protect the world. O infallible Lord, O greater than the greatest, O Lord Ananta, O Lord whose fame is everywhere, glory, glory to you. Obeisances to you who hold a plow and a club, and are the master of the demigods, great sages, and regal serpents. A person who regularly reads or recites these prayers attains Lord Hari's supreme abode. Even in this world he attains all strength. He crushes his enemies. For him are victory, wealth, and followers. But you have to do that like every day if you want all those things. After circumambulating Lord Balaram and bowing down before him 100 times, in the company of the other sages, intelligent Vyasa Muni, who was the son of Parashara and Satyavati, went to the Saraswati river. And the next chapter is the description of Sri Krishna Chandra's birth. Sri Krishna Janma Varnana, which is coming up Janmashtami, a week from tomorrow, right? So very soon, we can hear about that later on. So that's very interesting how Vyasadeva summarizes the pastimes of Lord Balaram, giving thumbnail sketches while he's a little tiny baby in the womb. Ordinary persons, modern persons, they cannot do this. And the scholars will even go so far as to say that, that was written after Lord Balaram had performed his pastimes. They call it interpolation. That where there's a prediction of the future, like the prediction in Srimad Bhagavatam of the appearance of Lord Buddha, they'll say, that was written after the appearance of Buddha, where it names, his village and where he's from. But actually in revealed scripture, it's beyond space and time, and these things are given as revelations. So the appearance of Lord Buddha was given in Srimad Bhagavatam 2,500 years before the appearance of Lord Buddha. Similarly, the appearance of Lord Kalki, who comes at the end of the Kali Yuga, is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's still 428,000 years from now, or so. But he will come, according to the prediction. So there's a description from ISKCON Desire Tree about Lord Balaram. And as the son of Rohini, he was known as Rohini Nandan, also Rohini Sutta. And the elder brother of Krishna, he is called Dauji. That means older brother. So let me read a little bit of this. Lord Balaram is 16 years old, full of the luster of youth, and has a fair complexion, the color of crystal. He wears blue garments and a garland of forest flowers. His handsome hair is tied in a graceful topknot. Splendid earrings adorn his ears, and his neck is splendidly decorated with garlands of flowers and strings of jewels. Splendid armlets and bracelets ornament Dauji's graceful and very strong arms, and his feet are decorated with splendid jeweled anklets. This word splendid is used a lot in this description. Lord Balaram's beauty is enhanced by the earrings touching his cheeks. His face is decorated with tilak made from musk. That's pretty hard to get. Deer musk? That's his tilak. And his broad chest is ornamented with a garland of gunja. Balaram's voice is very grave, and his arms are very long, touching his thighs. The splendor of Lord Balaram's transcendental form eclipses many millions of glistening rising moons, and the slightest scent of his boundless strength is sufficient to destroy many armies of demons. Although he knows the supernatural power of his younger brother Krishna, still, out of love for him, he never leaves Krishna alone in the forest for even a moment. Balaram is Sri Krishna's dearest friend and a great reservoir of the nectar mellows of many kinds of transcendental pastimes. So these are some of the glories of Lord Balaram. So I think what we should do now is turn to some leelas of Lord Balaram. He, as mentioned in the Garga Samhita, he has a penchant for killing demons like Dhenukasura, Pralambasura, the wrestlers in Kamsa's wrestling arena, Let's see. Can't read this. And others he kills. Actually, one very interesting pastime, which is later on, that you'll find in chapter 78 of the Krishna book, is the killing of Rama Harshan Sutta, who was of mixed descent, but the sages had gathered to perform a great sacrifice, and Rama Harshan Sutta, who had been present at the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, he was elected to be the chief man at the sacrifice, and therefore he was given a seat on the Vyasasana. But Lord Balaram, not wanting to take part in the battle of Kurukshetra, on his travels he appeared on the scene there, and all the sages and sadhus and yogis and munis were all gathered there for this 1,000-year sacrifice to counteract the ills of Kali Yuga. They all stood up to receive Lord Balaram. He is Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all stood up to receive him. They offered obeisances. Everyone present except Rama Harshan Sutta. And it's explained that he must have got a little puffed up sitting on the Vyasasana. And therefore he did not offer respects or obeisances or stand up to greet Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram didn't take this offense lightly at all. So he plucked a blade of kusha grass and he went to Rama Harshan and he touched him with the kusha grass, and immediately Rama Harshan was killed. A great uproar was created in the midst of the assembly of all the sages. And what have you done, Lord Balaram? You killed Rama Harshan. I mean, imagine someone comes in and kills his ever given class. Rama Harshan is very qualified compared to what we have. But anyway, imagine. And doing it by touching with a blade of grass. Here, I guess it would be a cactus thorn in Arizona. So Lord Balaram said, well, that's the way it goes. He was too puffed up, and he was carried away with his position, and he forgot who he was, and he failed to offer respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he said, however, sorry about that, fellas, but if you want me to perform some act of penance to counteract this offense, then just tell me what you would like. And so it was settled that he would go on pilgrimage, which was what he was planning to do, and tour all the holy places of pilgrimage. Now later, Lord Balaram, as we know, appeared as Lord Nityananda in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we know from one song of Narottama, Rajendra Nandana Jai Sachi Sula Hoilose Balaram Hoilo Nitai. So Brajendra Nandana, the son of the king of Braj, Lord Krishna, Sachi Sutta Hoilose, he appeared as the son of Mother Sachi, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Balaram Hoilo Nitai, Lord Balaram became Nityananda. And before he came to Navadvip and hooked up with Lord Chaitanya, he was on pilgrimage. He appeared like 12 years before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he was 12 years old, one sannyasi came to his village and ended up taking him away. He asked his family to give them the boy in charity. And of course, his father, Hadai Pandit, and his mother, Padmavati, I believe her name was, they were heartbroken, but they had told the sannyasi, who I believe was Lakshmipati Tirtha, the spiritual master of Madhavendra Puri. Hadai Pandit had offered to the sannyasi, please, anything you want, I will give you in charity. Anything I have, just ask me for anything. And he said, I will take the boy. I need an assistant to travel with me. I'm going on pilgrimage to all these holy places. And I'm just this sannyasi, not like an ISKCON sannyasi with an airplane ticket and Halliburton briefcase and the latest Apple computer and gold pen and the latest iPhone. Even the sannyasi, which may have nothing. You have a water pot and a danda. And that's it. And your clothes on your back. And the duty of the sannyasi is to perform austerities and travel and see of all of God's creation and preach, enlighten people. Just like he had come to the village of Nityananda's family. So he took Nityananda with him. And so for 20 years, Lord Nityananda, from age 12 to age 32, who is Lord Balaram, and just like in the pastimes of Balaram, he went and toured all the holy places as a pilgrimage. And with Lakshmipati Tirtha. And then he also met Madhavendra Puri. And he accepted initiation from Madhavendra Puri. So we see that in the list of the cyclic succession. Lord Nityananda, as well as Advaita Acharya and Ishwara Puri were disciples of Sri Madhavendra Puri, who is credited with introducing the manifestation of conjugal love into our sampradaya. Very major contribution. And then that was paving the way for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who fully manifests this tasting of the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. So that's a very important part of our sampradaya, of our philosophy, and our heritage, our spiritual heritage. So after killing Romaharshan with the blade of kushagrass, then he spent 1 year touring the holy places and not taking place in the Kurukshetra war, as we mentioned previously. So that's the killing of Romaharshan Sutta. And there's some other killing going on around here in the pastimes of Lord Balaram. Which is the killing, first one is the killing of Dhenukasura. And we can turn to Krishna book for this. Chapter 15. Oh, nice when the internet works around here. Immediately look things up. I'll read a bit from this chapter. Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram, passed the childhood age known as Komara. That's 1 to 5 years old. And stepped into the age of Pauganda, from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows and the pasturing ground. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram transversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetation, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee. So you have to become a devotee with a clear mind that's sanctified like the forest of Vrindavan, conversely, and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes, with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet-smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body, not like our hot desert winds that blow with the stench of industrial civilization and filled with hot dust and automobile exhaust, But these breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends in Balaram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground, as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. Of course, they're desiring to serve Krishna and please him. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balarama as follows: "My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into this stationary condition of life. But now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they're praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association." Isn't that wonderful? This is Krishna glorifying Lord Balaram. "My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that of the gopis, are welcoming you with the same affection, and the cuckoos who are residing in this forest are welcoming you with their joyful, sweet cries, because they consider that your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Even though they are trees and animals, these residents of Vrindavan are glorifying you. They are prepared to welcome you to the best of their ability, as is the practice of great souls in receiving another great soul at home. As for the land, it is so pious and fortunate because the footprints of your lotus feet are marking its body." Such a great description. So they're going along in the forest and they're performing their pastimes, joking, dancing, wrestling. The cowherd boys would catch Krishna's hand and enjoy their company. Trying to get to the Danikasura part here. Okay. And the boys are talking to Krishna and Balaram. "Dear Balaram, you are very powerful. Your arms are very strong. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. Will you kindly note that just near this place there is a big forest of the name Talavan. This forest is full of palm trees, and all the trees are filled with fruits. Some have fallen down, and some of them are very ripe, even in the trees. It is a very nice place, but because of a great demon, Dhenukasura, it is very difficult to go there. No one can reach the trees to collect the fruits. Dear Krishna and Balaram, this demon is present there in the form of an ass, like a big donkey. And he is surrounded by similar demon friends who have assumed the same shape. All of them are very strong, so it is very difficult to approach this place. Dear brothers, you are the only persons who can kill such demons. Other than you, no one can go there for fear of being killed. Not even animals go there, and no birds are living there. They've all left. One can only appreciate the sweet aroma that is coming from that place. It appears that up until now, no one has tasted the sweet fruits there, either on the tree or on the ground. Dear Krishna, to tell you frankly, we are very attracted by this sweet aroma. Dear Balaram, if you like, let us go there and enjoy these sweet fruits The aroma of these fruits is now spread everywhere. Don't you smell it from here? When Krishna and Balaram were thus petitioned by their intimate friends, they were inclined to please them. And with smiling faces, they proceeded toward the forest, surrounded by all their friends. Immediately, upon entering the Talavan, Balaram began to yank the trees with his arms, exhibiting the strength of an elephant. Because of this jerking, all the ripe fruits fell down on the ground. Upon hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the demon Dhenukasura, who was living there in the form of an ass, approached with great force, shaking the whole field, so all the trees moved as if there were an earthquake. The demon appeared before Balaram and kicked his chest with his hind legs. At first, Balaram did not say anything, but with great anger, the demon kicked him again more vehemently. Balaram was unfazed, by the way, by this kicking. This time, Balarama immediately caught hold of the legs of the ass with one hand and, wheeling him around, threw him into the treetops. While he was being wheeled around by Balaram, the demon lost his life. Balaram threw the demon into the biggest tree about, and the demon's body was so heavy that the palm tree fell upon other trees, and several fell down. It appears as if a great hurricane was passing through the forest, and all the trees were falling down one after another. This exhibition of extraordinary strength is not astonishing, because Balaram is the personality of Godhead, known as Ananta Shesha Naga, who is holding all the planets on the hoods of his millions of heads. He maintains the whole cosmic manifestation, exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth, which is an explanation from earlier in the Bhagavatam. How the Lord is the lengthwise and breadthwise threads. You take a cloth that's woven from thread, and some of the threads are going this way and some of the threads are going that way, and they interlock, and it becomes not just threads anymore, but a piece of cloth. And that's called in Sanskrit otam protam, lengthwise and breadthwise. Or as Prabhupada says here, exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth. After the demon had been thrown into the trees, all the friends and associates of Dhenukasura immediately assembled and attacked Balaram and Krishna with great force. They were determined to retaliate and avenge the death of their friend. But Krishna and Balaram caught each of the asses by the hind legs and in exactly the same way wheeled them around. Thus they killed all of them and threw them into the palm trees. Because of the dead bodies of the asses, there was a panoramic scene. It appears as if clouds of various colors were assembled in the trees. Hearing of this great incident, the demigods from the higher planets showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram and beat their drums and offered devotional prayers. Start doing the drum solos, showering flowers. What an amazing atmosphere. A few days after the killing of Dhenukasura, people began to come into the Talavan forest to collect the fruits, and animals began to return without fear to feed on the nice grasses growing there. Just by chanting or hearing these transcendental activities and pastimes of the brothers, Krishna and Balaram, one can amass pious activities. Isn't that a wonderful pastime and so beautifully rendered by Srila Prabhupada? So that is the killing of Dhenukasura. And then the next pastime of Balaram sequentially in the Krishna book is from chapter 18, killing of Pralambasura. And we'll just tell that pastime briefly, and then we'll end after that. So Pralambasura was one of the friends of Kamsa's, a demon, and he came to kill Krishna. And he disguised himself as a cowherd boy and entered into this game they were playing, where the losers would have to carry the winners on their backs, like you do in chicken fights, you know. So Balaram's party was victorious, and Pralamba Asura was on the losing side. So he decided, well, I'll just carry Balaram on my back, and then I can kill him that way. So Lord Balaram got on his back, because that's the prescribed punishment for the losing side. And then Pralamba began to swiftly carry him away. Of course, Lord Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's omniscient, all cognizant. He knew what was going on. He knew this was not an ordinary cowherd boy. Actually, they knew from the beginning that this demon had sneaked into their company, appearing as if he were one of the cowherd boys. Who's that new cowherd boy? Where'd he come from? So Balaram decided, all right, I'm going to let this demon have it. So as Pralambasura was carrying Balaram, Balaram suddenly became heavy. After all, he holds the entire universe on his hoods as Sheshanag. So Pralambasura was feeling a great weight on his back. Not just a few kilos, but the weight of the entire universe. And so then he manifests his form as a great dark demon. And so Balaram said, okay, enough's enough. So he took his fist, he smashed it down on the head of Pralambasura and split his head in half and killed him. That is a very beautiful pastime of Lord Balaram. They don't take any nonsense from those puffed up demons. You're going to try to kill me by carrying me away? All right. Let's see who's going to kill who. And then, so he ended the life of Pralambasura in this way. And then later, he killed the wrestlers in Mathura when Krishna and Balaram went there as 14 to 16-year-old boys. And then Kamsa was trying to kill them in any way he could. He's kind of a chicken, so he tried to have his elephant, Kuvalayapita, kill him. And they killed the elephant, took his tusks, ripped him out, put him on their shoulders, and went to the wrestling arena. And then Kamsa ordered his big wrestlers, like Hulk Hogan or, whatever famous wrestlers there were. There was this guy, I remember on Saturday night, TV wrestling, El Gigante, this Latin wrestler who's like a huge, giant guy. So they were like that, and Krishna and Balaram were these beautiful, delicate 16-year-old boys. But they thoroughly whipped those wrestlers, and the people gathered in the arena was like, "Hey, this is not fair. What kind of wrestling is this? You got these slender, delicate cowherd village boys against these great professional bodybuilding wrestlers. That is not cool." But Krishna and Balaram easily dispatched with those wrestlers who were trying to kill them. Their names were Chandra and Mushtika. So they killed them. And then finally Krishna sprang up onto the dais where Kamsa was seated on his throne. He dragged him off the throne onto the wrestling dais, and he pummeled him. And Kamsa lost his life. So Krishna and Balaram were having a grand old time there in Mathura, running wild in Kamsa's kingdom without any regard for Kamsa's law and order. All right, so we'll stop here. Any questions or comments about Lord Balaram or realizations? Yes, sir.
What if someone just walked in off the street and heard these pastimes and said, "What kind of a god are you worshiping? It sounds pretty gory."
Yes. It's the Supreme
No.
Personality of Godhead. He's not subject to your opinions. When he performs his pastimes, he does as he likes. But as it turns out, his pastimes are very relishable. And those who take pleasure hearing and chanting these pastimes, some of which are very chivalrous pastimes and very violent acts against the demons who are trying to kill Krishna. So he turns the tables on them and he dispatches them. And so I don't know how many people from the street are tuning into our YouTube channel to hear these types of descriptions and activities. But these descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord are the Bhavo Shadach Chotra Mino Viramat Gat Uttama Shloka Gunadava. They are the cure for everyone who is suffering Bhava Ashaudi, the disease of material existence, which we are all entangled in and entrapped by. And hearing these pastimes of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, it relieves us of our attachment to this material existence and eventually promotes us back home, back to the spiritual world. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tattvataha. When you know the truth about Krishna, or as the British might say, when you know the bloody truth, sometimes that truth's a little bloody, then you become enlightened, and after leaving this body, you don't take birth again in this material world. And those who are in ignorance, that is their problem. And of course, we would like them to hear these transcendental pastimes and become liberated. But some purification may be required before they can enter into these, the nectarine mellows of these pastimes. A purification through hearing and chanting the holy name and taking prasad and associating with devotees and reading Bhagavad Gita. And then these pastimes in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the summum bonum. This is the highest nectar, the most intimate and truth and revelation, the pastimes of the Supreme Lord that will cure us of our bhava-roga, our material disease, and take us away from all of our suffering in material existence. So by hearing these pastimes, then we're asking Krishna, oh, just let me hear these pastimes, Krishna, and just take me away. Take me back home, where I can eternally relish these pastimes and witness them in your association. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And also those demons are liberated. And also in all the other scriptures of the world, God does violent things to demons. So.
Yes, off with their heads. Kirtanation.
Yeah, I just want to share. We were talking about Lord Balaram and Dhirodatta and Bhima. I was on Bhima Kadasi. I was hearing some of the pastimes after, while Bhima and Dhirodatta were fighting, Balaram had appeared near the end of the fight. And this is from the Mahabharata, Krishna Dharma's Mahabharata. And the Bhima was unable to win, so Krishna recommended, hit him in the thighs. And so Bhima finished Dhirodatta by breaking his thighs. Balaram became very angry because that was not, the fair way of fighting. So Balaram actually went to attack Bhima, but Krishna stopped him. But Bhima was very happy and joyful because he thought, I'm going to be killed by Balaram.
If I'm killed by Balaram, I'm all for it.
So he just kind of did this, and he was like, but then Krishna convinced him and said, no, Bhima made a vow to break his thigh, so it was his religious duty to break his thigh. So
plus he had exposed his thighs to Draupadi, which is a great act of irreligion.
Yeah.
So he got what he deserved. He got the fruits of his actions in full measure. All right, anyone else? Yes, and that's Prabhu.
Good night for Balarama. By his rising and setting, the sun reaches life to everyone, except for one who hears about the pastimes of the Lord, the all-good personality of God or somebody else.
Ayaharati Vaipum Sun. Ujanastan Yanasal. Tasyarte to know Uttama Shloka Vartaya. So Uttama Shloka, the glorious pastimes of the Lord, which are rendered in choice transcendental poetry. Yes. So it's a good investment, you know, to sit here in the temple room and hear about Krishna. Very good investment. Better return on your time you cannot get. All right, so thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Balaram ji ki jai. Shri Balaram Jayanti Purnima ki